class. I'm going to give you a demonstration today on throwing a small piece and just some basic instruction that goes along with that. When you approach the wheel, you're going to put the splash pan on completely, okay? And that has this edge that's straight, okay? And this has a little raised edge to it, okay? The side with the flat edge goes away from you and it slides underneath the wheel. And then this part with the raised edge slides underneath and it just kind of clips on there. You move it forward and that keeps the water from getting you wet because you'll see that the wheel head is slightly below the splash pan, okay? You're going to use these bats, and on the bats they have a spider web and there's two sets of holes, okay? On one set of holes there's 3 little bumps, and on the other hole set there's one single bump. For this specific wheel that you're using, you're going to use the one with the 3 bumps, okay? I put my finger in the hole there, set it in, okay, and kind of like lock it in, and then the other one slides in, okay? Slide the bat back and forth, and I can tell if it's in because it's not really moving. If it's not in, if it's in one of those grooves, it'll slide back and forth like that, okay? So set that in, and you're set to go. I have in front of me some water. I have the water full, and some tools that I'll be needing is definitely like the large carving hoop tool, and I can use then the wood tool, and I can use a needle tool. I'll use that a little bit later, and I have my sponge, okay? To start the clay, I'm going to be using just about the size, a little bit size larger than your fist, okay? So the way I start that is, it's a square cube. I wired it off the bag, and I'm gonna use my free hand, and I'm gonna just kind of like pack it into a ball shape, okay? Because that's kind of like the form we want on the wheel, okay? So I'm just packing it down. If you're left-handed, just use your dominant hand, and I'm packing it into a nice shape, okay? Nice kind of like dome form, okay? And I'm gonna put it right kind of smack in the middle of the bat, okay? And I use my hands, before I even get my hands wet, I'm using my hands dry, and I'm sealing the ball of clay to the bat. By doing that, it's sticking the clay to the bat. That's what the disc is called. It's called a bat. And it's also kind of pre-shaping it into this round dome form, okay? So I just do that a few times, okay? And now I almost have it in a nice dome, so when I turn on the wheel, you can see it's already kind of in this volcano kind of like shape. When you're throwing, again, you don't need to keep it at the fastest speed, because again, it shakes too much, and you don't want it at the slowest speed, okay? Because then you use too much of your own personal strength to do it. So I have it about a medium speed, okay? And I take my foot off the pedal, and that helps me just rest my foot down, and I have myself stable. I have my elbows resting on my thighs, and now I get my hands wet. So I get my hands wet. Whenever you get a drag on your hands on the clay, get your hands wet, okay? So I now hover my hands over that ball of clay, and I'm sealing the ball of clay further to the bat, okay? So I'm just using my left and right hand, kind of at, if you think of it as a clock, at the 3 and 9 o'clock position, and I'm just sealing the ball of clay, okay, to the bat. Just like that, okay? Now then, I can squeeze the ball of clay up with my left and right hand, and that pushes the clay up. Now I'm going to center the clay with just my right hand, and this is the point where most students find it frustrating and difficult, is centering the clay, okay? I'm going to do it from a side profile position, and I'm using just my right hand, okay? If you're left-handed, use your dominant hand. But just notice that my right hand, I'm going to bend my wrist, and I'm really pushing with the heel of my palm. So with just even one hand, I'm pushing, easing up, pressure, and you can see I'm already kind of getting that dome shape. Now, I'm going to do it more specifically perpendicular to the ball of clay because I'm sitting like this. So I come straight down. My left hand is kind of like a backboard, okay? And as I push, and I'm really just kind of pushing forward with my right palm. The heel of my palm is really doing the work for me. I ease up, and I pretty much now have the ball of clay in this nice dome shape. The reason why I say ease up my pressure, because I'm pushing against it. And if I let go quickly, that happens. It springs off center, okay? So if that happens to you, just put your hands like a V, and I'm, again, pushing gently, easing up, and again, that really kind of like stabilizes the pot. So again, push up on the clay, squeeze up, that pushes it up, and now just again, even with one hand, again, see how it's just one, that's the bat kind of clicking a little bit. With one hand, I'm centering the clay. The clay shouldn't take more than 5 minutes to center. If it's taking more time than that, you're doing something wrong, okay? So it's, again, pressure. What's going to happen also to a lot of you, notice how I'm really tight, tucked in here when I'm centering, okay? I'm really close, tight like this, kind of like the center on a football team. What's going to happen to a lot of you, you're going to be centering, and the piece is going to start wobbling and wobbling. Your elbows are starting to go out to your knees, and you're going crazy, and now the clay is just totally out of control, and you're like, oh my gosh, what do I do? It's just now, I can't control even this like 3-4 pound ball of clay, okay? So, regroup, okay? Get back into a tighter tuck position, again, with your hands like a V, and I'm kind of almost just like a bulldozer, a plow driver. I'm just pushing against the clay, ease up pressure, because again, just in that moment, if I let go quickly, it would just spring back off center. So again, I ease up pressure, that kind of readjusts it, and now I'm really tucked in tightly. Come down with that right hand, hold, I kind of count 1, 2, 3, ease up my pressure, and there it's centered. Because the palm is rounded, there's that bottom edge that I just can't get a sharp, clean edge to. And that's where I use this carving tool that I use on the trimming as well. I hold it in my hand just like I'm shaking someone's hand, and I take my left hand and I support my wrist. I never try and do anything with just one hand. I'm always supporting one hand with another, and it always gives me a little bit better stability. So I take that narrow edge and I just trim that bottom part, okay? And then I can clean off the bat, and now I have just a really nice dome of clay there, okay? So again, that's all of the centering technique. Now I'm going to make my opening, okay? So I'm going to put my hands over the ball of clay like I'm kind of keeping it from getting cold. And I'm going to use my thumbs, and your thumbs will naturally gravitate right to the apex, the top of the pot. And again, if I feel any drag, get your hands wet, and I push down. Again, I'm getting a little dry, so I release, and again, push down, okay?